Please welcome Senior Director of Innovation at Skift Advisory, Oliver Martin.
Morning. Hope everyone's doing well. It's good to see some of our clients and partners and friends. That's me, Oliver Martin, I think up there on the screen. I've had a lot of coffee, so just wave if I'm talking too fast. I've got 15 minutes. We're going to talk about the Middle East, your region, the region that we do a lot of work in, to really understand what 2024 is going to look like. I'm an analyst, I'm a consultant, so take what I say with a little bit of salt, because things dramatically change in our industry. We're at that time of year in December when we start asking questions, what is the next year going to look like? In our business, this usually means understanding what's happening with the global economy. The headlines up here on the screen that you see have a different message, but there's a consistent story. We're going into a challenging environment in 2024 because of structural issues, because of high inflation, because of persistent things that have been with our global economy for the last few years. In our business, which is directly linked to the health of the economy, if the economy does well, tourism does well. If the economy does poorly, our business does poorly. There's a direct linear relationship. However, we've noticed here at Skift that there's a bit of a disjoint in the last couple of years. Economic sentiment or consumer sentiment has been on the decline, but travel intentions, and I'm hopefully pointing to the right place here, travel intentions are considerably high. We're calling this a decoupling. Now, I don't want to call this a trend because we've only observed it for a few years, but it's definitely something different for our industry. So that linear relationship is starting to separate. Now, with our business, we still have some persistent things that we need to deal with, especially with this region. When we're talking about travel and tourism in this industry, we still have uncertainty around the general area that we're in, persistent issues around safety and security, and also language and cultural differences. And I should probably advance the screen here. However, we have noticed that a lot of these things are not necessarily barriers. 10 years ago, we would talk about uncertainty, safety and security, language and cultural issues as being barriers for people to choose to travel to the Middle East. A few years ago, we started realizing, well, people are still coming here, so maybe these are just actually concerns. Our data is now telling us that these are actually misconceptions. And in our business, for many of you that are travel and tourism, hotel, and airline marketers, this is something that we can actually have a material impact on. Now, going back to what's going to happen in travel and tourism in 2024, our industry usually paints a pretty rosy picture. What beaches are going to be hot, what hotels are going to be top, and where people are going to travel to in the region. But really, these are just qualitative observations. Skift looks at myriad data points, from editorial, from research, from data, to paint a picture on those megatrends. And Rafat mentioned that we're going to be announcing those megatrends a little early in Q1. We've analyzed that data in order to understand the actual market shifts. So not just a trend that's happening, but how it's fundamentally changing travel and tourism to the Middle East. The first one here is transitioning from assets to experiences. And we all talk about that, the experiences that people have. However, we still trend and tend to promote individual assets. We're looking at buildings or historic sites or attractions as one-off activities. The second thing here is the transition from individual events to actually thinking about the long-term legacy impact of that event. Now let's go back to that event concept. We did some analysis earlier this year to really understand the impact of the FIFA World Cup. And the surprising thing was that it had a huge impact in people's perceptions of traveling, not just for the event, but actually more short and medium term into the future. So it was this idea that the event was not just something that you could actually just do at that one time, but actually drive that motivation to choose to travel to that destination in a long term. And we call that legacy. Now, the thing is, people need a reason to come to the Middle East because they have so many other choices that they can go to. They can go to Mexico, they can go to Uzbekistan, they can go to Canada, where I'm from. So we need them to have a reason to choose the Middle East. Now, events are awesome, and all of you that are in the business of travel and tourism, specifically with events, you understand that there's a huge rush to decide how that event is going to portray. So you're focusing a lot of your attention on the operations and the immediate impact of that event. We need to change our mindset and realize that people need to think beyond that event. And we want to ensure that we're maximizing that ROI so that we are getting people to choose the Middle East versus other destinations based on events that we've historically had. And this is a fundamental difference in our business from a development and management perspective. The next trend is that shift to experiences. Now, before, it was really the novelty to choose the Middle East based on assets. We wanted to see big buildings, or malls, or ski hills, or beaches. The shift in the mindset of that consumer post-COVID is really understanding that that asset is there, but it's not building that long-term loyalty impact in choosing the destination. Now, 2016, people were deciding to come to the Middle East and had that loyalty experience, that satisfaction, because they went to, the Burj, or they went to Alula, or they went to Petra, or they went to see Wadi Rum. And I'm probably leaving out a lot of other assets that are out there. Fast forward to 2023, so this year, loyalty is really driven by that emotive experience that you're getting at that asset. And again, this is a mindset for our business, a mindset difference that we need to do in our business. We tend to always fall back on promoting the asset and developing the asset and not thinking about that long-term experience development that we need to do. We tend to outsource that to our PR, our marketing agency, but this is fundamentally different of what we need to do in the business. I realized I've talked pretty fast because I have a lot of time still on the clock, but I'm going to pass it back to the event organizers. So look, this is our team. It's a bigger team, but there's a number of us here that are in the audience. There's Joe, there's Michelle, and there's Alesh. We're actually pretty nice. We're pretty cool to hang out with, so come have a conversation with us, and we'd like to talk to you about what you do and to see how we can potentially help you. So thanks very much.